The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening. On behalf of the Nicefelt Professional Development Committee, I would like to welcome you to Nicefelt's first professional webinar for educators for the 2018-19 school year. This evening's webinar is entitled Technology, Capture Learning as It Happens. My name is John Carlino, and I will be hosting this evening's webinar along with Nicefelt President-elect Beth Slocum as moderator. Our webinar series is free to Nicefelt members through the generous sponsorship of the New York State Language Regional Bilingual Educational Resource Network at NYU. The purpose of this organization is to provide ongoing support to educators of English language learners in districts and schools statewide. Nicefelt would like to take this opportunity to thank them for their very generous support of our endeavors. Please note that the audio and video of this webinar will be recorded. I'll provide you with details about how you can access the on-demand recording at the end of the webinar and by email afterward. This webinar is scheduled to last 1 hour, with 45 to 50 minutes devoted to the presenter. The remaining time will serve as Q&A with the presenter to answer your questions. If you'd like to ask questions of the presenter during the presentation, please use the chat or question feature in the GoToWebinar control panel on the side of your screen and type in your question. Our moderator will organize these questions and share them with the presenter during and at the end of the webinar. As a registered live participant, you are eligible to receive a certificate of attendance stating that you signed up for and logged into this webinar. In order for us to be able to verify your attendance, you must be logged in with GoToWebinar. If you are calling in on your phone without logging in, your participation will not be recorded. Details on how to receive this will be shared at the end of the webinar. Nicefelt does not and cannot guarantee any professional development credit for this webinar. For those watching this video on demand at a later date, Nicefelt is unable to grant a certificate of attendance. All participants are encouraged to work with their immediate supervisor to determine how to best receive credit for this professional development. In the event of technical difficulties, please remain connected as you are able. Nicefelt will contact you directly by email if the problem cannot be resolved. You may also email us at info@nicefelt.org, but please understand that it is sometimes not possible to check email and run the webinar simultaneously. Thank you for your time and attention to these messages. And now, let me please take this opportunity to introduce you to our presenter, Meredith White. Meredith White is a Georgia transplant and earned her BA in Spanish, BS Foreign Language Education, and MED Foreign Language Education from the University of Georgia. Currently, she is working towards her PhD in Foreign Language Education from the University of Georgia. Meredith has taught in private, public, and charter schools in urban, suburban, and rural settings. And Meredith was selected as the Peachtree Ridge High School Teacher of the Year for 2018. Congratulations. Her focus on novice learners works to ingrain proficiency, authentic resources, genuine tasks, student-guided thematic units, student-guided lessons, as well as making language learning enjoyable. Addicted to collaboration and professional development, you can typically find her at state, regional, and national workshops, both attending and presenting. She's an honorary Nicefelt family member and helped us to celebrate our 100th anniversary in Niagara Falls last year. She blogs at pathtoproficiency.com, participates in regular online PLNs like LangChat at PRH Spanish, and serves as SCOLD Executive Board member as well as an actful little emerging leader. Meredith, your Instagram posts inspire us daily. Thank you for sharing your time with us. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm going to come in here and make sure that you can hear me, that I haven't muted myself here. Okay, fantastic. And I'm hoping you guys can hear me okay. We're going to talk about technology, but beyond things you can use or programs or certain websites or things like that. Those tools are important, but I think more importantly, or maybe most importantly, I tend to think, then what, when I'm using technology, because you can make a super jazzy lesson and it had this program and that had this program, but what's the next step? I think sometimes that's missing, and the amount of planning that goes into using things with technology sometimes is out of proportion to what we get out of them. So hopefully we will give you some ideas, maybe break a couple of stereotypes that you have about a couple of programs like Snapchat perhaps, and just let you see, just get you kind of excited about a couple of ideas. I like to leave conference sessions and webinars and Lang chat and things like that with things and thinks is just kind of what I call it. One thing, a tool, a site maybe I hadn't heard of, or an app that I need to play around with, and something to think about, just something to kind of shift how I see things. I think we get a lot of pressure to use technology when sometimes just a roster on a piece of paper would have been just fine. Sometimes we get pressured to track behavior in sexy, jazzy new ways and put, use an app for this or use an app for that. And that might just be fine, again, on a sheet of paper or with a dry erase marker or something. So hopefully these will be some things that just make you rethink some of the ways you do technology. I've got my screen set up a couple of different ways. I have my phone mirroring in the lower right-hand corner so I can simulate Snapchat. I've got me in the upper right-hand corner because I sometimes like to see who's talking. And as language teachers, I think we're visual and we use a lot of gestures and expressions. So that's kind of important to me sometimes. I like to see what's going on. And then I have a PDF that I can share on Twitter and beyond with just some slides and just some screenshots of things that I've captured. So speaking of technology captures, this is my contact information. We'll come back to that at the end. And the first thing I do is just as an early beginning of the school year type routine is I think with a lot of students, which we all have a ton of students, I'm used to 30 to 36 in a class. With a ton of students, sometimes we get bogged down with, hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that? And it becomes so teacher-centered that it's like, oh yeah, let me remember to do that. Oh, let me write that down really fast. And with a million students, I mean, it feels like a million, it's not. But with a million students, sometimes that can get overwhelming and then you forget. And the students did all the things right, we just forgot. And so I teach my students really early on, or work to teach, it's a process, just email etiquette. There was a meme that went out a few years ago that said outside a cafe, cup of coffee, $5. Hi, cup of coffee, please, $3. And then, good morning, how are you? Great, thanks. Coffee, please, $1. And that's kind of how I look at my email system. That's the only way that I take questions about grades is via email, because our school gives email addresses to the students. So there's no reason to not be a little bit versed in email. And that's kind of how I'll respond. If it's just the issue, if it's just the question, all lowercase, like E.E. Cummings is emailing me, then no, I just auto archive and I address it in person. You want to try that email again? And they usually, oh, okay. Response within a week if they get kind of a greeting, an explanation, but a greeting, an explanation, and a thank you. Response as soon as possible. Students become then more intentional about their communication and isn't just offhanded, hey, did you put that quiz in? They're actually like sitting down at a computer with their phone, looking on eClass, checking their grades and going, oh, okay, yeah, I do have a question. I think you put 17 instead of 71, which that happens. So I only accept questions like that via email. And I find that students are intentional and they appreciate it, but then I also have a record of it in case parents ask or in case something comes up. And in that same vein, so therefore I use my inbox as a to-do list, which is really nice. So if I've done it, I'm like, boop, archive, delete, whatever, save, usually not delete, but archive, save, just get it out of the way, and then next. And you can see which ones you've addressed instead of coming back to my computer and having sticky notes everywhere and going like, okay, which I did today. So I had 3 sticky notes. Then you're going, okay, who did someone say? What do you say, 93 on what? They then can have a running record and so can I. So that's really nice. Students sometimes don't know how to email and that can be frustrating, but when I really hold them to it, they've gotten a lot better about that. So, and the email etiquette to me is really important. Fake it. If you're not feeling it, fake it, because you have to learn how to write a polite writing to somebody, an email or a letter or something. That's just a thing you have to learn how to do. And I teach high school. So the second thing is I got these pictures from our class photographer. So Bryce Hedstrom, who his website is brycehedstrom.com, is sort of famous for his class jobs. And his class jobs are amazing. One of them is class photographer. So you can see this photo down here. I have a lot of students. And And a class photographer took these pictures and really captured the moment. So again, my big push is technology doesn't create learning. It can spark some things, but we create learning as the teachers. But what can it capture? So at the very least, on the surface, I have memories captured. But beyond that, I can use this picture in the bottom right hand corner later for verbs, present progressive, classroom supplies. I mean, just the mind, you have just kind of options spring out from your imagination. You know, what are they doing? Who has a pencil? Who has a pen? Or, you know, and so on and so forth. I mean, I'm just saying these off the top of my head, but you can do a lot with just taking some pictures in class intentionally. And I know that sounds really simple, but when I started really paying attention and kind of capturing some fun moments, I realized that even as much of a natural optimist as I am, I was still kind of going back on the pictures later and thinking, oh, that was nice. Like that was a good class. I got distracted by maybe the mess of papers and granola bar wrapper that they left in third block and grumble, grumble, grumble and got the trash can, but really like, oh, that was fun. And it caused me to reflect more. And I'm pretty reflective already, but the class photographer job also allows you to see class from a student's perspective, which is really fun. The picture right here with the student in the hard hat, that was the point in the story where this student's character in the story said, oh, you're really similar to my dad. I mean, sorry, you have the same name as my dad, but he's smart and really good looking. So he's really different from you. And that's the moment where that dialogue came out and he's like, are you serious? Like, so there's your listening comprehension right there, is like, did she just call me what I think she did? And then I'm saying, no. And so it was really fun. And that student right there is like, oh my goodness. So we can see all the listening comprehension happening. And that's a really fun moment to capture. So that's pretty cool. And then the upper left-hand corner, again, just, you know, chatting with students and general rapport. His class jobs are great, but technology-wise, the class photographer is a really good one. If you have some kind of class device, or I had like an old iPad that I just wiped back to default mode, and they would take pictures with that. There was nothing personal of it like on mine. It was basically factory settings. They would take pictures, and then we had a class Google Drive that it was somebody's job to like upload the pictures every day before they left. So they just kept the iPad with them all class. It's slowed down too much to use it now, but when it was a little bit faster and could update. And so they would just keep it at the end, like, oh, I took 6 pictures. Let me upload them to first block. And then boop, upload. It was attached to school Wi-Fi. Okay, bye. And they'd put it back like in the charger. And that was their special job. So there are a lot of things you can do technology-wise to use students with class jobs, and photographer is just one of mine.
Hey,
what you saw at the beginning and what you see behind them. Yeah.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, can you hear me?
You probably don't realize
Please.
it, but your face is on my screen twice, once on your laptop screen and then once
Oh, is it?
and one of them's in
Okay.
slow-mo and it's a little distracting.
There we go. Is that better?
I would have kept that one and closed the other one.
Oh, okay.
Because it's
Let me
the
go
other
back.
one that's in slow-mo.
No problemo. We're in slow mode. Well, it is Thursday,
That
so
one.
I do feel in
There.
slow.
That's perfect. Just like that. And then I think we'll
Nailed
get
it.
a little better sound quality if it's not trying to
Cool.
do video feeds at once. Great. Okay, I'm putting myself back on mute.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, please, no problem. And you can hear me okay. Yeah, so those jobs are really fun. And I again, they work for a number of things: light turnaround, door opener, personal assistant that gets your markers, bouncer that keeps kids out. Bryce Hedstrom has a ton of great jobs. He's like the student job guru. But some of the technology ones are really fun. My dad taught for over 40 years, and I think I've seen one picture of him in the classroom, and I have just a treasure trove. So I think that's really special. Behind the students, which you can see, is our like Snapchat, is our photo wall, I suppose. And a lot of these pictures I got from Snapchat from students, which I'll show in a second, but a lot of them, some of them, I should say, were just pictures like that I just took of students doing activities, especially in the novice levels. I teach level 1 and 2, and they do a lot about talking about school and talking about descriptions and describing people, and they pretty much describe, I'm sure as we all know, describe everything around them a million times, ad nauseum. And so a lot of different pictures, or get your administrator to like kind of pose, you know, get a funny expression, and you're like, I don't know. And then it's like, oh my goodness, is Mr. Smith in trouble? What's happening? And so on and so forth. Students really like a lot of novelty like that. And I think it's easy for us to forget it. I know I forget it because I think they're so desensitized to things and need to be entertained, but really just funny pictures. And my students are born in 2003 for the most part. I mean, you show them a physical picture and they're really excited about it. I mean, they're like, what is this? It's like you gave them a Civil War relic. What is this? Is this a photo? I mean, they're like shocked. And so it's really fun when they come in. The first place they go in my classroom is like, they show their parents the pictures of them on the wall. And so it's really fun just to pop on over to CVS a couple times a semester, or maybe just once a semester, somewhere midpoint, October-ish, and then maybe again like in March, and print out some of the pictures. They're like a nickel a piece, if that. And Shutterfly always has really good deals too, just of the photos, and just display them in your classroom. Because to me, there's the work, especially if they're working. We sometimes get pushed to display student work and change it out all the time, but that's it. To me, that encapsulates everything. It's the relationship, it's the classroom, it's the environment, it's the action, it's the language being brought to action, brought to life. And if it's a Snapchat picture, which I don't know if you can see any of them, some of them have words on them, they have the caption, which is really neat. So then it's in the language and the students are kind of acting it out, again, bringing it to life, and it's pretty neat. So, so there's that, you know, it's just another idea. Couple of websites, couple of tools. One is Flipgrid, which I know a lot of people talk on Twitter about and at conferences, and Flipgrid really is amazing. The fun part about Flipgrid is then, because my question is always, again, then what? Is you can share it with parents, which is cool. So you can give them video feedback and it becomes kind of a back and forth conversation, really. And you can share the students' video and audio with parents, which is really neat. So, so that's cool. And then if you wanted to do, for them to work in groups, perhaps, then you've got listening for the others. So in Flipgrid, they put in the code, they go, webcam like this, they record the response to whatever your prompt is, and then you can make it unmoderated so that everybody can see everybody else's. I always tell them beforehand, or else they freak out and lose their minds. And so I tell them, you're gonna then watch 3 other groups' videos and comment, or not even comment, but react, because they have all positive reactions in Flipgrid, which is really cool. And so they can leave like a heart or a thumbs up or like cool little sunglasses guy. And it's kind of fun. So just watch 3 other people's, and they love to like watch each other. They're going on each other's feeds all day and Snapchatting and doing all the things. So as long as they know beforehand, my students don't really have an issue with that. But if they don't know, I always leave it moderated. So I've done a few things with that. If you use Senior Wooly, you can then you can link to outside resources inside the Flipgrid. So you could say, oh, describe your whatever. Here's an example. And it might be a Senior Wooly video, or it might be something that you found on YouTube. It could just be discrete grammar that you're pulling out and saying, let's do a little grammar explanation, because if I hear me llamo es one more time, I might lose my mind. And so if you don't want to take class time and do that, or you're in a place where that wouldn't be well received, or however your department functions, Flipgrid's a really nice way for discrete grammar explanations to happen. And then students can respond back and give examples, or just explain their general comprehension. And it's really nice, because then again, it's like a one-on-one conversation. It's just formative. You don't even have to respond to that. You can just say, okay, I think Timmy's got it. Next video. Okay, Johnny's still confused. And you just make a note like you would anything else, like you would an exit card or a warm up or whatever. Or you can link a YouTube video to it as well. So you can find an authentic resource, and then there's your example. So it's pretty cool. Flipgrid's really neat, and it pays itself forward in a couple of ways, which is cool. They all save. So then the next year you can use the same prompt, and you've just basically saved, if you have the same preps, you've saved yourself the materials, so you can already have it laid out, like level 1, unit 1, level 1, unit 2, and then there they go. Hopefully by the end of next semester, I'll be able to have level 1 and level 2 ready for next year. That way they can just log on at the beginning of the unit and do them at their pace. They're due at the end of the unit, maybe one Flipgrid per week, or maybe one Flipgrid, maybe two per unit is manageable for me to get feedback for and go in from there. And they put them all in one place, which is really cool. So Flipgrid is awesome. Formatively, summatively, just to build relationships at the beginning of the year. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Yeah, I really enjoy it. So in that same token, you can take an Edpuzzle and do the same type of things. Edpuzzle allows you to embed questions within it, and in a video. So you find a video or you make a video. I like to use Snapchat and make my own montages and then use those as a video. So if I can show you an example here, I will pull up Edpuzzle. We're going to save TweetDeck there for us in a second and show you LangChat, which is technology, but on a PD level. So let's see, content. I'm going to go Spanish 2, Unit 3. Okay, Edpuzzle 17 is one of my favorites because the Central States Conference always falls when we do the travel chapter, like the airport and hotels and such. So what I did with Snapchat was I just kept taking videos in the airport and then posted them to my story, and it by default it makes it a montage, and then you can just download the montage. So I just emailed it to myself and then put it into an Edpuzzle. So I was able to take the video that I made, customized, and then upload it and clearly put in a billion questions. I put in a lot of questions in this one, maybe do fewer questions, but I just got really excited. So it's me without a ton of effort, just a little intention, some effort, but mostly just intention. And I was trying to be really, really purposeful. And then I can embed questions and it's an assignment. So that's me just talking about my suitcase. And eventually, students can't zoom ahead, but I can. Eventually I go into security. They don't like it when you take pictures and video in security. I learned that the hard way, but we survived. I just wanted to show you, there it is. So just little things like, oh, the line is really long and so on. The dog is looking for, I think I said the dog. There is a dog. There is, yeah, there is a, whoops, sorry, got clicking rogue. There is a dog for security. And then the question says like, what is the dog looking for? You know, think like drugs, things for like terrorism, it's all of the above, and so on and so forth. So it goes through, and then eventually I get, they let me take a picture of the cockpit. I was a teacher. And at that point I'd been documenting the entire trip, so they probably figured, just get this crazy lady out of here. People putting up their things and arriving to Central States. It was a super nice hotel, and we were just doing hotel vocabulary. So I was able to say, oh, the hotel is so elegant, and so on and so forth. Take my suitcase, please, yada, yada, and so on. So Edpuzzle is really cool, especially when you can make your own videos, which I like to do, or just you chatting. Hola, clase, da 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 da. Maybe like a weekly catch up, almost like your own little sort of fireside chat. Students always think it's really interesting, and they're like watching in the background, like, is that your house? Who is that person? And it's kind of funny. So just kind of a more personalized way to embed questions in your own scenario. You could record something on your phone too, obviously. Same thing with discrete grammar. I like it for pulling out grammar points and checking formatively if they're understanding the grammar that we're currently doing before I take a bunch of class time and go, okay, irregular preterite. We keep seeing these, but we don't know what to do with them. Let's explain. So it can allow you to gauge things beforehand. And embed really specific questions or short answer stuff. I mean, they're not all multiple choice. Those that you saw that popped up were, but they don't have to be. And the Snapchat montage really is fun for that. So Snapchat, let's just talk about Snapchat. I have a couple students who are ready at the helm, hopefully, and said, go easy on me, that we're gonna snap in real time. So I have my phone here in the lower right-hand corner, which hopefully, or it's your left, it's my, yeah. So lower left-hand corner. And on my slide there, I've got my handle. So if you have Snapchat and you want to add us and see kind of what I post every day, it's at PRHS Spanish. We use it for group work. If you send your students on like scavenger hunts sometimes, a good one is like around school for like a school chapter. I like to send them to certain rooms of colleagues where I know that they will be well received and they won't be, those people won't feel annoyed, but that students can be coming by all day and kind of popping their head in, like, just look at the classroom, because they're holding a description of like, the teacher is, has brown hair. The teacher is young. The teacher is very smart. And so they're like looking for that person, looking to see what class it is. So it's basically a reading comprehension, but like a treasure map. Snapchat's a really fun way for them to submit pictures of where they are. So if you have 5 locations, they should send you 5 pictures once they get to that location. And maybe they take, a selfie when they get there and send it to you, like, oh, la clase de química, and they're pointing back to chemistry class and so on. It's a fun way to keep up with that. And kids are so fun, like with the emojis and bitmojis and all this funny stickers and like the drawing. They're really fun on Snapchat. And so it's like using that creativity for good and not evil, because we know how it can be used for evil. How can it be used for fun? On Snapchat, that means they follow you. You don't follow them back. So they can follow you one way, just like add you, but you don't add them back. So you don't see anything they post, but they'll see everything you post. So you'll either have to toggle between 2 accounts or just not do anything personal on the school account, which is what I do. I might like direct message personally, send department mates, which is probably what that notification is there now, or not. So I just don't really have a personal Snapchat because I don't feel like logging in, logging out, and all of that kind of thing. Our class Instagram makes that a little bit easier because you can toggle between the 2 accounts really simply, but Snapchat it's kind of more annoying. So I just don't do personal Snapchat really. Responses to posed questions every day. I'll just go ahead and log in here. Every day our warm up has, let's see. Okay, so every day our warm up has 6 options. I use Laura Sexton's Yo Puedo, well, not template, but basically idea. She changed my life last November. I was giving a one-size-fits-all warm-up, and she had, if you ever want to look it up, she had an amazing, oops, Puedos, not Pueyos. There we go. She had an amazing blog post right there, Puedos, differentiated social warm-ups. You probably just Google that like I just did, and it'll come up. And it was amazing because she talked about how you give one size fits all, and they kind of don't do it, or which was the case with mine. Either don't do it, or like it's supposed to have one right answer, so maybe they just copy it. And so she gives a lot of really good ideas about how to give interpersonal warm-ups, and then she's got an updated link here at the bottom. Interpersonal warm-ups so that kids are talking right away, but also they have options. They have voice, quite literally, and choice, and both of those things are really important. So when she did the differentiated warm-ups, I just made number 6, like option number 6, by default is look on our class social media accounts and like respond to something. So today I had posted pictures of some of their drawings. And what's fun is my phone's in Spanish, and so sometimes it'll just be screenshots of that. And so it's an authentic resource in that way by putting your cell phone in Spanish or in your target language. So this one today is a drawing from a story they had last week, and I just thought that drawing was so cute, and so I just stuck on a caption. So they would respond directly, oh, la clase de matemáticas es muy difícil. It's asking, how is math class? And so Gilberto in the picture had just said, yeah, but I'm not smart. The math class is really hard for me. I'm very frustrated. And so I'm asking, what is math class like? Just how is it? And students would respond, difícil. And so on. So really simple, but they usually do a few. So they'll respond to like a couple. Same thing. Gilberto walks with his math teacher to his class, and she says, thanks, Gilberto, you're really responsible. And so I said, in the opinion of the teacher, how is Gilberto? What is he like? He's very responsible. So they're really simple questions. They're just right there, text reading questions. But the students still have to understand what you're asking. And then they had to go back and read the Gilberto again, and they all did. It was an assignment, but now come back to it. So let's recapture that and put it in a way that's accessible to you. The same you would do with with reminders, but just this time it's content, it's in context, it's content in context. And the same thing, so I picked like beginning, middle, and end. Gilberto isn't frustrated anymore. He walks to the cafeteria, he studies math with his friends, he decides to practice more so that the class isn't so difficult. And then I'm asking, why isn't Gilbert frustrated anymore? And so students respond like, por qué practicar? Because my students don't know not to make it an infinitive yet, they're level 1. So those are really fun. I also, like I said, take screenshots of my phone. So last night, my phone did the little like turn off thing where it doesn't annoy, that won't, like, no notifications go off for like however you say 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. or whatever else. And so I thought that was perfect. And I'm like, oh, look at that. We've been doing like me llamo, te llama, se llama for 2 months now. And I figured I'd throw in like, but what about like the noun calls? Like, what's the word for like no call, like calls and notifications will be silenced. And then the word for blocked, and then until tomorrow, because as we know, literally it's until tomorrow. Kids kind of think of it as see you tomorrow. So it's just anything intentional. Those are intentional, but they don't have to be. And this was this morning at 5:50 when it came on, and this is a new screen with the update. Every morning when your alarm goes off, it'll tell you buenos dias, tell you the weather, and I just thought that was kind of cute. So I may save up a few of those, and poof, there's weather. And it's a chance for me to go, oh, clase, hoy, ¿cómo hace el tiempo? You know, and ask them how the weather is, etc., because it's all accessible. I see it as taking technology to kids. We think they're so into technology, but they're not necessarily accessing the things that we think they are sometimes even. So when I'm like, what's the weather supposed to be like today? They don't know. Like, I don't know. I just woke up and, you know, whatever else. When really we can use that as an opportunity, like, oh, it's going to rain today. Cloudy weather is nice for naps. And my kids know, like, to sleep, and they know cloudy. And so, you know, you can use, I prefer to sleep when it's cloudy on the sofa. And those are all cognates and words they know. So it's a really fun way to continue in the input sort of stage in, oh, that's my group, my department. We call ourselves the Perfect Ladies. And here we are. So that's a nice way to stay in the input. So you see how notifications can come up. You can also take songs. Song came on this morning, and we keep seeing mejor, and they just aren't getting the word for better. So I thought maybe I can put it in context better now. So I just saw the song title, just anything really. Anything that sparks your imagination. Snapchat is a really nice way to just take a picture of it and post it, and then there it lives. The other cool thing about Snapchat is the filters. So I'm going to turn, you get me twice now. Wow, my department is just going all the way here. If you wonder why your students are staring at Snapchat all the time, it's because these filters are fantastic. So, I mean, what's better than that? Absolutely nothing. So what's really fun is to deliver content language messages, but with these filters on, and it adjusts the audio as well. So it'll give it like a little squeaky little voice, and they're really funny. This one looks like a brain or broccoli, but it says open your hand. Oh, so yeah, they have, okay, oh my. So they have sponsored ones. So you could capture this as a video, which I'm just, oh, okay, that's loud music. So I just held the button down, capture that as a video, and you could make that some kind of input, like dance as well. Doesn't like to dance, dances strangely, or something like that. That had loud background music. This one is the one they always do, the ones with the bows and the ears, and so the students are always doing those. This one has like some cool stuff. There we go. Yeah, you do some of the little goggles come down. No, sometimes they'll do like, yeah, I know it. Woo. So you can, now you know why they're addicted to it. So they can, I mean, how fun is that? You don't even have to do anything, and you've got a ready-made scenario. Now, if you do like TPRS or you use a lot of stories in context, poof, there's your story. You know, I mean, there's your input and your chance to, like, you know, hey, what happened here? You just pop it into a slide or something, email it to yourself, pop it into a PowerPoint slide. Some of them make you more attractive than you actually are. Like, they'll kind of even out your skin tone, because you can see the real one, and the lighting's off on here, but yeah, I look way better here than in real life, and that's kind of why we love filters. Am I right? This one they like to use a lot because, again, it evens out your complexion, and it kind of also thins the face, but some of these are just really funny. So even if it's just like a reminder or a message, or just, oh, clase, yo estoy súper cansada, you can just record, post to the story, and they've got more input. Now they can click past it, but they can click past anything. At least it was there. To me, technology is just the whole point, making stuff accessible to the students. Sometimes we wonder why they don't study or it's not engaging or they don't, but we're not meeting them where they are necessarily. So what I'm going to do is, here's Aman. Okay. He had messaged me earlier, which you can see. He says, if I'm not sleeping, I can. Because I said, hey, are you available at around 7:30 or so? I'm going to say, you are in my presentation. Here we go. Di hola. Oops, my phone's autocorrecting. So you can message, you can see how fast it is with students. And also you'll see this little Bitmoji that comes up. So I'm gonna say, hola, amigo. If you put your phone in Spanish and you have Bitmoji on your phone, your Bitmojis will be in the target language. And Bethany Drew has an amazing blog post. A couple of people have an amazing blog post on then printing your Bitmoji on stickers. So again, like technology, but meets old school, because the kids love stickers. You just buy like the Avery stickers from like Office Depot, and then go on avery.com, put in the number, and you just drag pictures in. And all of a sudden your face is on the sticker that you're giving them back on their test, and they lose their whole mind. They just lose their whole mind. Reagan was the other one that had said that she would participate. So I'm gonna like pop her in here. You can see their little head pop up when they're typing back. So in an ideal world, we all have like 30 students total, and you could do like interpersonal writing because you can see how long it takes them to respond. So if they're Google translating or not, you can see the errors they make, obviously, because they're replying. And it's really kind of fun because if they kind of delay, so she's responding, her little like smiley face just popped up. You can see just kind of what's going on, and you make the errors in real time and you go, okay, it's interesting. She's so funny. So I'm gonna say, she doesn't know say, she's in Spanish 1. And I'm gonna say, what is your favorite class? And she better say Spanish if she knows, if she knows what's good for her. And we'll see what she says here. I'm gonna forego the upside down question mark just for the sake of time. What I'm doing when I tap those is I'm just saving them. So again, she's following me, I'm not following her, so she had to instigate the message. So whenever students message for the first time, like you can't find them, but they can find you. I like it that way. My parameters, as we wait for her to respond, and maybe Aman, my parameters are like 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. because on paper, I think that's kind of weird after 7 p.m. like responding to students, unless it's an emergency via email or something, and then I always CC back on the parents. But she says her favorite class is RVN. That's like our TV show kind of class. I'm gonna say, why? Only because that's what we're doing right now. We're in Unit 3, talking all about your class schedule, yada, yada, yada. So like I said, in an ideal world, we would use it for like interpersonal writing, but this is how they can send you those pictures. So if they go out on that scavenger hunt, or if they go out and go interview or talk to this teacher, or like go just out in the hallway and you're looking for una chica rubia y que tiene lentes, like a light hair, like kind of blondish girl with glasses. They could be in the hall like, oh, there's one. And it's almost like a human scavenger hunt, kind of looking for people, obviously in a positive way because they're high schoolers, so you don't want things that could go mean in any way. But that kind of thing. Oh, there she is. Is this La Jefa? Is that Beth I hear? No.
Oh, that is me.
So
sorry, I was going to jump in and ask a question if that would be okay.
Yes, please.
We have a couple of questions, but one in particular that I think is really pertinent here. Someone's asking, what is your district policy regarding fraternization with social media? Because we have some people that are, due to their faculty code of conduct, that they're not permitted to have this type of interaction with students.
Totally.
So do you have an issue with that? And what are some of your workarounds?
Yeah, totally. So we have school, like every club in our school, pretty much. Our school's 3,400 students, and our district is the largest in the state. And so we have pretty much accounts for every club we have and every school. Every school and every club and every account pretty much uses like Instagram and Twitter, and our athletic director is always tweeting out stuff and tagging students. So for us, it's a non-issue, and we really use it as a publicity pro. The fun thing about Snapchat is you could do it without interacting with kids at all. You could just create images. So if you wanted, you could just do like your own thing, and then caption it. So you could say, oh, Señora Blanco es muy guapa. Whoopsie, there we go. No, and that, and obviously the upside down exclamation question marks, but we're going to skip those. And just use those maybe as a reading or as a writing. You can make the caption longer, of course. So maybe acting out some story pictures, putting the text in the captions, and then just using them. Like interacting with students. I mean, they're going to lose their minds a little bit, like, do you have Snapchat? Because they think we're all like living under a rock. But they will be engaged for sure. And especially if you're using a Bitmoji or an emoji, it just then can just be used for really engaging imagery, I suppose is the way I would phrase it. So like no student involvement needed. Because I would, if I were, I think if I didn't feel so supported, I would be a little bit nervous for sure. But our district policy doesn't, it kind of encourages that within parameters, and that's up to teacher discretion pretty much. But if I had more parameters, I would just use it, but without contacting students. So I can just save them to my camera roll, which I just did. I touched that button in the lower left-hand corner and just saved it. So saving my camera roll, email them to myself, and then once in a while you use them for input or for, you know, a little reading or whatever. Easy. Oh, can you hear me? Yeah.
That's great, because also someone commented that they were wondering how to work with students that don't have Snapchat. That's a really good way to use it for class without the kids needing to have the app themselves. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, of course. And I like to put them in groups too. And so a lot of times there'll be like groups of 4 will go out and do a thing. And as long as one of them has Snapchat, we live in an area where they all do. Like my students all, unless they're on punishment, every single one has a smartphone, and nearly every single one has and uses Snapchat. So then there'll be somebody in the group that goes, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. I'll send the pictures. And the other 3 can, you know, one person takes the reading and then one person takes the thing to write, and the group just kind of assembles in that way. So you could use it hands off totally if you wanted. And I hardly ever, unless it's in a group, and they always have another option, but if I hardly ever make something summative that involves Snapchat. If I do, they have like a long time to do it, and I have like 3 other options, because exactly, not all students have it. You can't guarantee that they do, or frankly, that they want to communicate with us on it. So kind of as you would with any other presentation or project or assignment, really, you would just have some options that say, okay, if you don't want to do that, you know, just write it. Like if you don't want to send a picture, find a picture and just maybe write some captions on it or something, you know, something that is the same task, but done in a different way, which I've never had any difficulty in. But I'm also in a classroom that has really good phone service. I know that sounds really stupid, but teacher, we get it. So the students pretty much never have an issue sending stuff to me. And like I said, in a group, there's always at least one that says, oh yeah, no problem, I'll add you. Cool, got it. And I get them without really any hassle or any weirdness at all. They just kind of do it. Our school has a lot of social media accounts, and clubs do them, and they're run by students, and the students make graphics, and they're just really active and participatory. So for them, it's just not weird at all. They just kind of go, oh, cool, okay. And they find it and follow it, and maybe move on and look at it or forget about it. So it's really kind of neat in that way. But again, you can respond to posed questions. Group work, tricky. Really good for formative, tricky for summative, because then also you're keeping track of all of that, and that's kind of a hassle. Like, did I get so-and-sos? Did I get so-and-sos? Did I hear from this group? Did I hear from this group? Reagan came back and said my teacher is very funny and nice, and also I like to spend time with friends. I think she has a lot of friends in that class, so that's pretty cool. So you can see how that works. The rest of our story is just authentic resources right now. At the very least, it could be a way for you to publish, maybe get them never respond to you, but for you to publish authentic resources that maybe they wouldn't find themselves. So my students wouldn't be following like Dove in Spanish on Twitter, but I am. And so it's just a way for me to share. And again, there's Mejor. We're working on it. They have such a hard time learning that word. And we also just saw free. So they know like un año, of course. And then we were just looking at gracias yesterday. So, and then I reminded them of a few things. Hey, don't forget our study guides here. So it's a nice way as kind of like a reminder board. And that was my invite at the top. Hey, respond. You can also see what students took screenshots of your materials. So at the bottom, you see that little 7 with a star. It's pretty cool. You can see who screenshotted your whatever the picture was. So, you know, students, I can kind of gauge like, oh, okay, I guess they wanted the midterm schedule, or they're really grateful for that because a lot of them took a picture of it. So that's kind of interesting to see what they do and don't kind of respond to. I'm going to say, okay, back to her, and bada bing, bada boom. So there's Snapchat. Like I said, we've got a whole wall. I just end up going to CVS or Walgreens a couple times a year, printing out a whole bunch of pictures. And usually a lot of them, like I said, are the Snapchat captions, and you can see they've like written on them, and they're pretty inexpensive. And it's just kind of a fun way to do stuff. I found that Snapchat makes me think a little bit more about authentic resources, but also situationally where I am, because I think, oh, I could post this to the story. We're doing gerunds right now, so I could say estoy comiendo, you know, and I'm at a restaurant eating or something. Conditional, you could be out somewhere and see like some kind of different kind of food at a farmer's market or something, and say like, oh, would you eat that? And it's a fun way to capture in the moment. You've created the learning, you've created the moment and curated the experience, but it's a fun way to capture it and to share it with students. We've never been able to share so quickly and so easily, which is really neat. So I like Snapchat for that way. I thought it was pretty dumb a few years ago when we've had a class Snapchat for like 4 years now. So maybe 4.5. Students finally convinced me, and I've finally looked at it from a different lens, and it's pretty fun. But like Beth was saying, I've also had no issues, nothing inappropriate happen. And just by and large, a lot of support. So if I didn't, I would use it on my end only and just never interact with students. I just wouldn't even I would add the app, but I wouldn't even add like any friends or anything. And I would just go from there, because you could easily just make your own images, make your own videos, etc. And it wouldn't be any hassle. And it, you know, you could just work it in different ways, which would be really cool. Lastly, a couple things I like that pay conversation forward is Mentimeter. My pronunciation was recently corrected. I was calling it Mentimeter. Apparently it's Mentimeter. And Mentimeter, there we go. I still want to say Mentimeter. It's fossilized. Mentimeter is really neat for gauging students' opinions. So for example, like with Snapchat, I then post the screenshots of what they end up voting on there, and I can keep the conversation going. Which one do you like more? So right now you've got like, it just says, ¿Qué te gusta más? That would be up here actually. And then you've got like eating, studying, running. As students use their phone in class, they gauge with scales. So they can vote like 1 to 5, which is cool. You can take like a screenshot of this later, what they end up being at the end of the day after everyone's voted, and that's input for future conversations. Oh man, class, yesterday you voted that you like to eat more than you like to study. I can't believe that. And just, you know, be kind of engaging in that way and discuss it without them realizing that you're using their own reactions to fuel the discussion. And suddenly it just seems like you're just chatting, but really they're reading them again, and they're looking at how they responded, and they're listening. So it's pretty cool. Mentimeter is really fun. We try to do it 1 or 2 times a week. 2 is a little bit tricky, but 1 is fun. Monday Mentimeter is a kind of a fun routine to get into, or like save it, if you teach Spanish, save it for an M day, Mentimeter Martes or something. That's when you gauge their opinions. And then you can keep coming back to those throughout the week. Boy, we still like to sleep more than run. Come on, you know, are you sure? And you can kind of be playful in that way, but also get them lots of repetition and lots of input. And that's a resource that isn't just, okay, we used it, now what? You can keep talking about those things because it's opinions and it's short answer, and it's a lot of fun. You have a lot of different question types you can make, and it's pretty cool. Then I'll take those results and paste them or post them into Snapchat, so then they get that visual again. And I beat a dead horse. Like, oh, did you want to see these pictures again? You're welcome. You're welcome. And I just put them out there all the time, because the more they see it, right? We know they need the repetition, but why not? Lastly, I use
one question.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I'm going to butt in again. We had another question about Menti. We've seen it used with phones. Do you know if that's something that teachers could access with Chromebooks in a classroom?
Yeah. It's browser friendly. Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
They just, of course, they just have to go to menti.com and then put in the numeric code, just like their phone, and it's perfect. They can respond and they can do all the things. It's totally easy. I would prefer it with Chromebooks, I think. My personal opinion, because the phones, they get a little distracted and then they go off and do 2 other things and so on, which we know in the classroom. But Chromebooks would be ideal, because you can do audience pace, you can do presenter pace, and at the end of the poll, they will send you that PDF of the results. Johnny from Mentimeter like emails you and says, I'll show you what he says. He says, like here, let's see, Johnny from Mentimeter, it's literally his name. There we go. Your results. So I did one for professional development. I didn't know Johnny had a picture. I've never scrolled down that far. Well, hello, Johnny. So there's they'll send you a PDF of screenshots from your polls. So I just screenshot those, or I think it's a PDF. Yeah. They're like JPEGs, and I just like, boop, take it, pop it into the slides, and rock and roll from there. If you had a pre-made assignment, you could just, there are the screenshots. If you had a pre-made assignment and you put audience pace, kids could do it at any time from any device. So you're just like, you need to do the Mentimeter by Friday. And then by Friday, they have all done it and responded to it and whatever. They can click through as many times. You just make some question have their name. That way you can see who all did it. Like the last question, put in your name, or something. Because if they got to the last question, then they most likely did the other ones as well. So we had some funny ones at our PD, how do you react to the following? These are all teachers, so I'm not with students. We're not talking about mojitos with students. And then a couple of these, which are you more likely to see as you leave early? That's my luck. And so I can just like save the image as, copy the image right into Google Slides. I can keep that conversation going all week. Remind me, what did we like more? What did this class like more? And just in that sentence right there, you've got 2 different indirect object pronouns, different tenses. If you want to say yesterday, you all said that you liked, is that still true? Not like it wouldn't be, but again, more opportunities for discussion and just fun language input that comes from them. It's not another thing that we have to create, because that can be a lot, and just a lot to create and a lot to do. And then once it's over sometimes. And so I like to just squeeze every resource for every possible second I can get out of it, because we already work really hard, and I try to work a little smarter when I can. So therefore, having said that, my big mission this year is to make everything embedded in my Google Calendar. If you have a school website or you use Google Classroom, the Google Calendar is great, especially in the last couple of years, they've added attachment feature. So actually on the calendar, you can add attachments to the days. So if you call, unit 3, like here's unit 3, week 2, that's where we are. I can hit more details. I might be logged in, so I'm not trying not to screw this up, but maybe I will not. Okay, so you got unit 3 vocabulary study guide, unit 3, week 2. I have all of those. Go back. Where'd you go? I have all of those there. So teachers, sorry, not teachers, parents and students can click more details and see what we're doing for the whole week. They can see the whole thing. They can see all the GimKit links for flashcards. They can see the slides. They can see the study guide from the beginning of the unit already. They can see all the practice things. And that's really been a lifesaver, because sometimes on those websites, you put in all the files and then like you're over capacity and whatever. My Google Calendar is just embedded into the school website, and I don't have to update it because I'm already updating the calendar for myself pretty much. And so it just automatically updates. So that's pretty cool. That's again, like a resource that I did once, took the time to embed, and now it's just every single day when students say, hey, I was gone, check the calendar. Because I try to update a lot of handouts. I try to put the agenda. So like what we did those days, we did these things, we did a little, survey results, we did a song, That's what you missed. So if anything has a handout, those will be over here, or you can print it off X, Y, and Z from the website. And it's one less thing, one fewer thing I have to do that causes me to do something else. It's kind of just being more intentional, which is really cool. Plus there's your documentation. Well, it's been on the calendar for a month that you have a test, so you can keep referring back to it. And again, screenshots are my life. A screenshot of that calendar. If your calendar was on your phone and it was in the target language, That's really fun. When is the test? The test is tomorrow. No, the test is in 3 days. Okay, 3 days. And you're doing almost like a think aloud, a fake think aloud with the students, but using resources that you've already created for yourself. You're just kind of pointing them in the direction of them that they may not have seen before. So they may not have seen that, oh man, she really updates that calendar. But when you make it part of the thing, then they see it as a byproduct, as kind of a natural byproduct, which I like. So next year, all I have to do is carry through and just take unit 2 and change the dates. Unit 3, change the dates from 2018 to 2019, and so on. And so that's really nice for me, for my planning. Unless I change a major file like a study guide, they're ready to rock and roll. So if you ever want examples of that, you saw at the top, I put in tinyurl.com/Señora Blanco. So take anything, use anything, take all the things. Browse
That's awesome.
what we do.
I've got, I'm getting our 5-minute warning here. So I'm trying to wrap all the questions that we've been getting in.
Totally.
There were a couple of questions that came in about your Flipgrids and the things that you do, but what are you asking your students to record in response?
So my students' responses look like, let me get this where you can see. I can unmirror my phone, I suppose. We can get that out of here. They hard. There we go. Give it a second to load. We are asking the internet to do a bunch of things right now. My computer's like, what do you want from me? Give it a sec. Okay, so for example, first block, let's say, Flipgrid Friday. Let's see this one. I asked them to retell the story. So this is an example. Retell the Parker story as best you can without any help. Just say it from memory as much as possible, no pressure. Mention anything else you learned that you found interesting. When it comes to learning Spanish so far, what's been your favorite part in English? So this one was like half Spanish, half English. Like, tell the story, and you need to be making eye contact the whole time, so I know you're not reading. But then the other half can be like, oh, by the way, I'm learning a lot. Okay, thanks. Or it's going too fast. Help. At this point, we'd known each other a week. 10 days. We started on the 7th. So, or the 6th. So we've known each other 11 days. So it was half Spanish, half just kind of feedback in general. Then I responded back with a video. I can show you Jordan's. Turn that volume way down. So he's talking, and then I gave him, let me give one that I gave video feedback to. Let's do Julian, because I'm pretty sure I gave him video feedback. Oops, where did it go? Maybe it doesn't save the video feedback. It used to. There were some after about 4 hours that I was like, I am tired of giving feedback. Let me see if I gave it to her. It might not let me see. Well, basically, then you can respond with a video saying, oh my gosh, Angel, great pronunciation, awesome job. I look forward to this semester, yada, yada, which is pretty much what my first one always says. They almost all sound the same. But they could just be describing themselves. Describe yourself in give me 10 pieces of information about you after you do descriptions and likes or dislikes, or you pose a question and they respond to it. Feedback Friday, like I said, I like because they can say in English, like, how's the class going? How are you? How's life? And then you can use that to fuel more conversations later in the target language, or just to general rapport. So I like one part Spanish, one part life in English, because it's kind of uncomfortable for them to record themselves usually. And level 2, if you can see, level 2, I have a couple saved. I try to save these. Closed ones. This one was just the end of unit 1, como te expresas? So like, what do you typically wear? Why do you wear what you wear? Show us an example. So they were kind of like out in the hall, like, well, I like athletic shorts because I like to be comfortable, and so on and so forth. So a lot of things, we have small Chromebooks at school, so a lot of things where they can go and take the computer pretty easily and go on go chat with somebody, or something that is kind of a little bit more organic and a little less scripted, but it's a fun way to just kind of see what they come up with. And you can tell if they're reading. You can tell if they're like looking at something else and someone's like holding up a piece of paper. They'll try all the things. And it's really obvious, like painfully obvious. So
I wish I could be in your class.
So
I feel so terrible.
You just go like, hey, try this again. And then you send it to them. And I've never had any issues with the email feedback sending. So they'll just get with you. Get with me if you want full credit on this. I think you need to redo it. Send. next, and you just go from there. So Flipgrid's pretty
Well, I'm
cool. You can
sorry
do.
to have to cut
And you
you.
can swap. When I was saying what I do with it, I meant like this video right here. So like I might make like an example video. This is an example video from a student. So I made a student's video, the exemplar, and then they like watched his and went, oh, okay, I see
Hey,
what we're
Meredith,
supposed to
sorry
do.
to
It was
interrupt.
just a student from a previous year.
Sorry to
This could be
interrupt.
like that little black video right there. The sample video could be YouTube, could be something from Pinterest, could be whatever, and you'd be just fine. So, or no example video at all. And maybe you just put the rubric in that little text space where it says, ¿Cómo te expresas?
Hey, Meredith, can you hear us?
Points in there or the prompt or whatever. And then they respond. And they can do that on a Chromebook too. Flipgrid has an app, but it's okay. Some students find that it freezes when they go to send, but that also might be a Wi-Fi VPN issue because students at my school will bypass the Wi-Fi and get on their own like VPN. And then the data sometimes doesn't transmit or it blocks things, and so it's kind of funny. So yeah, they do a lot. But usually if I'm doing something on Flipgrid, it's just like giving the prompt or making an example video. But really they're doing the rest. They just video respond. You can also make a grid inactive so nobody can respond to these because they're like from previous years. So that's pretty cool. So that's how I use Flipgrid.
Hey, Meredith, sorry to interrupt. I think you can't hear us, but I do need to wrap up the webinar. Meredith, thank you very much for that informative presentation, and thank you, Beth, for moderating. As I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, it has been recorded, and the recording will be made available on request within a few days. For those of you attending as a registered live participant, we'll send you an email soon asking if you'd like proof of attendance. Just hit reply to the email and let us know. Please wait for that email and just reply to it. Please continue the discussion on today's webinar via Twitter by following the hashtag NYSAChat. This month we will be having a slow chat. To participate in this kind of chat, simply follow @NYSAFELT and respond to the questions and responses throughout the entire week, at your convenience. You can also post your own questions about today's webinar for others to answer. Grow your PLN. You can post your own questions anytime. @NYSAFELT will post a series of questions starting tomorrow morning. If you have any questions after today, please contact us at info@nysafelt.org, and someone will get back to you as soon as possible. On behalf of the NYSAFELT Board of Directors, thank you for attending this evening's webinar. Goodbye.